London, February 11th, 2026. Taking a bold step toward openness and accountability, Prince William issued a rare public statement today, confirming the British royal family is working hand in hand with the United States Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, regarding its probe into the Archewell Foundation and its business arm, Associated Commercial Ventures. Addressing the media at 10 in the morning from the southern entrance of Marlborough House, William spoke to international reporters with a calm, legally precise, and determined demeanor. Do not confuse our quietness with agreement. The monarchy neither funds, supports, nor has any formal ties to the Archewell Foundation or its branch organizations. Our duty is to safeguard the constitutional standing of this establishment, and we will operate with total openness whenever that standing is challenged. Although phrased diplomatically, this event signifies an unusual direct involvement by the future king in constitutional matters. Acting as the face of the monarchy's present and future, William moved to address rising global rumors regarding whether the royal family had any past links to Archewell, the controversial charity established by Prince Harry and run primarily by Meghan Markle. The tax agency's investigation kicked off formally on February 9th, 2026, with a request to the royal household, the Treasury, and the Royal Trust demanding answers on 3 specific issues. First, did any British royal body ever provide backing, either in money or reputation, to Archewell? Second, were royal ranks or official crests utilized in American for-profit businesses without authorization? And third, was there a deliberate attempt to falsely claim royal backing in American tax filings or donor solicitations? This probe was sparked by a disputed statement Meghan Markle made at the 2023 Aspen Impact Forum. Archewell stands for not just our family, but a tradition of service the Crown taught us. American officials marked this as deceptive, launching a deep dive into the charity's taxes, donation requests, and marketing, especially regarding the luxury line. As ever, debuted by Meghan in 2024. The investigation sped up due to worries about the use of royal-sounding language and logos that looked suspiciously like official British symbols. Less than 48 hours after the IRS notice arrived, Royal Trust Chairman Sir George Lels greenlit an urgent video conference between the IRS Tax Crime Division and top palace attorneys and accountants. Taking place on February 14th, this online meeting resulted in immediate revelations, confirming that 0 sovereign grant money, charity funds, or palace allowances ever went to Archewell. Documents from the palace communications team showed internal cautions issued in May and September of 2024 regarding the unapproved use of royal-style graphics on Meghan's as-ever packaging. Legal records proved that no licenses or endorsement deals were ever given to Archewell or any related American companies to use the Duke or Duchess of Sussex titles for profit. An insider mentioned that IRS officials were shocked by how complete the files were and how prepared the royal team appeared. The Washington Post reported that an agent called the meeting the most honest international nonprofit audit collaboration we have ever witnessed from a major institution. Then, on February 16, 2026, a secret top-level meeting took place in person at Clarence House, involving Prince William and Peter Howard, the IRS's Senior Director for Global Tax Crimes. The session, which ran just shy of 2 hours, wasn't about pomp and circumstance. It was strictly business. Accompanying William were the palace's head lawyer, the ethics director for the Royal Trust, and a high-ranking Treasury official. Howard brought along a legal contact from the American Embassy and financial auditors from the IRS. They covered 6 specific concerns the IRS had sent ahead of time, starting with the misuse of the Duchess of Sussex title in American tax filings. Next was proof regarding misleading suggestions of royal backing in donation drives. They also discussed product packaging that copied the look of official royal gifts, followed by a review of past funding. The discussion covered the relationship or absence of one between the Crown and Archewell, as well as any diplomatic claims the couple made overseas. Finally, they reviewed all messages exchanged between the palace and the Sussex team from 2021 through 2025. Witnesses stated that William remained solid, well-spoken, and strategically tough throughout. When asked about damage to their reputation, he reportedly answered, "The royal family is not a marketing gimmick. We guard a constitutional heritage. We do not play parts in a story written for personal profit." Interestingly, William repeated views often held by Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. Public service is not the same as building a brand. Making the public announcement on February 11th, before the audit wrapped up, was a calculated move. Aide said it aimed to hit 3 goals. First, to promise British taxpayers and the Commonwealth that the monarchy has no ties, money-wise or symbolically, to Archewell. Second, to state the Crown's stance clearly before American legal proceedings move to the next stage. And third, to show they are willingly working with international authorities, satisfying both the Treasury and American regulators. William's address laid out 3 main points that are now official policy, starting with an institutional firewall. This means no royal, whether currently serving or previously connected, can suggest they have royal backing for business deals. Next is ethical neutrality, ensuring the monarchy stays out of politics and commerce, remaining constitutionally selfless. Finally, the duty to deny, requiring the palace to speak up if private businesses misuse their royal connection without permission. The Crown is reserving its right to issue formal disavowals regarding both legal matters and its public reputation. Prince William verbalized these standards during his address, and they were published hours later in a formal dossier dubbed the Statement of Institutional Separation. Documents concerning Archewell and the monarchy were immediately dispatched to nonprofit regulators, brand watchdogs, and charity commissions throughout the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada. By noon, the speech was front-page news worldwide. The Guardian ran the headline, "William's Royal Firewall. The Crown draws the line on Archewell." The Times titled their coverage, "From Trust to Truth, Prince William's Historic Institutional Declaration," while the New York Times weighed in on the future king's statement as a moment of reckoning. With William stepping into the IRS probe, the royal household began preparations on February 11th for a potential Privy Council meeting to review the legality of the Sussex titles. An insider close to Buckingham Palace confirmed that King Charles has agreed in principle to move forward with legal reviews if the fraud allegations are backed up by further evidence. As the royal family reinforces its professional boundaries, the investigation into the Archewell Foundation's finances has picked up speed, uncovering accounting anomalies and suspicious spending that led U.S. authorities to upgrade the inquiry to a fraud review. According to Internal Revenue Service audit papers, Archewell's tax filings for 2024 showed a disturbing mismatch between revenue, operational costs, and actual mission work. The foundation reported total contributions of $2.1 million, a steep drop from the $5.3 million raised in 2023. Total expenses hit $5.1 million. Actual charitable grants were just $1.25 million. Salaries for 2 employees came to $913,000, while admin and security costs reached $2.9 million. This meant that over 75% of Archewell's budget was eaten up by overhead rather than philanthropic activities. One IRS agent remarked that for a charity with such limited programs and staff, the cost structure looks more like a private corporation than a nonprofit. The payroll line was particularly scrutinized. Archewell lists only 2 full-time staff members, yet together they took home nearly $1 million in compensation. Reportedly, neither individual has executive-level experience in nonprofit management, which is fueling concerns about embezzlement. However, the most damaging findings came not from the foundation, but from Meghan Markle's affiliated luxury company, As Ever. Launched in 2024 as a values-driven lifestyle venture, it debuted with a lot of hype and praise from the media. The brand offered fruit preserves, candles, herbal teas, and home decor, all designed with heavy visual references to royal tradition. The packaging featured stylized crowns, serif fonts that matched royal stationery, and slogans like "By Royal Ritual" and "Inspired by Legacy." Critics immediately warned that the designs looked suspiciously similar to the gift wrap and ceremonial branding used by the Windsors. Early press reports claimed everything sold out in hours, but a technical glitch on the brand's website revealed the actual numbers. Inventory levels were largely untouched, with over $23 million worth of unsold stock piling up in North American warehouses. Specifically, there were 137,455 boxes of fruit preserves, 200 monogrammed candles, and 44,000 jars of Windsor orange marmalade. There were also 80,000 floral sachets and 10,000 peppermint tea tins. In a single 24-hour period spanning January 30th and 31st, 2026, the brand sold only 26 units, despite a birthday promotion tied to Meghan. The IRS concluded that Archewell's sudden switch in June 2025 to a fiscal sponsorship model, placing it under another nonprofit's umbrella, was a calculated move to avoid detailed public financial reporting amidst falling donations and intense media pressure. The timing of this restructure suggests it was about evading rules rather than efficiency. An IRS legal memo notes, "This pattern is consistent with entities attempting to hide operational failures." With as ever failing commercially and Archewell triggering transparency alarms, the British royal family's need to cut ties became urgent. William's statement on February 11th served not just to clarify the palace's stance, but to shield it from what U.S. regulators are now calling a strategic collapse of donor and consumer trust. Following the forensic revelations about the Archewell Foundation and, as ever, regulatory scrutiny has entered an aggressive phase. The IRS, having confirmed key financial inconsistencies, is now reviewing both entities for active fraud. At the center of this legal escalation are two connected issues: the unauthorized use of royal titles for business and charity leverage, and deliberate brand misrepresentation aimed at misleading consumers and donors. Immediately after Prince William's declaration on February 11th, the Royal Trust's legal team delivered a formal cease-and-desist order to Evermark Collective Incorporated, the Delaware-registered parent company of Meghan Markle's lifestyle brand. The legal notice cited specific violations, including packaging and promotional language that mimicked the visual identity of British royal merchandise. It flagged the unauthorized use of phrases like "Windsor blend," "by royal ritual," and legacy-inspired language seen as carrying the symbolic weight of a royal affiliation. It also noted the inclusion of stylized crowns, serif fonts used in Buckingham Palace communications, and color palettes, notably royal blue and gold, historically reserved for the monarchy. Simultaneously, the royal household's legal team issued a reputational disavowal regarding the Archewell Foundation, submitting updated documents to international regulatory bodies and U.S. charity registries stating that no endorsement, official or implied, was ever granted to Archewell. No royal title has been authorized for use in tax filings, donation appeals, or branded content. Repeated requests from the palace to stop these practices were either ignored or selectively interpreted. The Royal Trust's internal compliance charter was also quickly amended to reinforce these positions. 3 key additions to the updated Royal Branding Compliance Protocol include a review of title usage. All post-abdication use of honorifics, territorial titles, or ceremonial rank in connection with fundraising, product sales, or media appearances must now undergo pre-clearance by the Lord Chamberlain's office. Then, there is the symbolic affiliation audit. Any reference to the crown, royal service, public legacy, or visual imagery evoking Windsor emblems must be documented and disclosed in full prior to public release. Finally, the institutional firewall clause states that any foundation or business implying it continues the work or spirit of the royal family must include a bold disclaimer reading, not affiliated with the British monarchy or the sovereign grant. These changes are retroactive and apply to all living former working royals. Perhaps the most talked about aspect of the IRS investigation is even after stepping back from official duties in 2020, Meghan Markle has continued to leverage her Duchess of Sussex title across podcasts, book jackets, digital media, and merchandise. While Queen Elizabeth II granted the title as a wedding gift for ceremonial purposes, it was never intended for commercial exploitation. Prince William has made a sharp point of clarifying that difference in his recent statements. Honors granted by the Crown aren't marketing tools or liability shields. They are public service obligations held in trust. That assertion brought with it significant legal and symbolic implications. Constitutional experts in the UK warn that monetizing a royal crest during an active audit risks crossing the line from cultural pride to consumer fraud. Federal tax authorities have demanded documentation proving Meghan personally signed off on merchandise featuring the Duchess branding, specifically looking for agreements where the title was leveraged to lock down interviews, book deals, or corporate sponsorships, implies a formal link to the palace. An internal memo from the palace's brand protection team, dated May 2024, explicitly red-flagged these activities. It stated that trading on royal status without official backing could constitute reputation fraud and trigger civil action under British trademark statutes. During a private meeting on February 16th at Clarence House, Prince William and IRS agent Peter Howran focused on a 6-point agenda regarding the exploitation of insignia, deceptive solicitation practices, and Meghan's public references to her royal connections. Insiders report that William displayed side-by-side comparisons of official royal Christmas gifts versus as-ever packaging to demonstrate the intentional design similarities. They also reviewed transcripts from Meghan's appearances between 2023 and 2025, highlighting her frequent appeals to Windsor traditions. The palace had reportedly been sending warnings to the Sussex team since late 2021, demanding they scrub certain images and terms from their business projects. When Howran asked if these actions posed a reputational threat, William's response was blunt. This isn't a hypothetical scenario. The damage to donor confidence, public sentiment, and the global standing of the Crown has already been done. We aren't having this conversation to dodge the fallout. We are here to fix the breach. After the summit, the IRS publicly acknowledged the royal family's assistance and released a joint compliance statement with the British Treasury. The wording was polite, but the message between the lines was unmistakable. The inquiry is now focusing exclusively on Archewell and Evermark, officially clearing the Crown of any involvement. Facing mounting legal heat, the official website went dark on February 18th, displaying a generic maintenance message. Major retailers like Fortnum and Mason, Harrods, and Hudson's Bay have verified that they are halting all distribution deals. Logistics centers in New Jersey and Ontario have reportedly stopped accepting shipments due to unpaid invoices and fears of bankruptcy. A forensic accounting team, backed by the IRS, uncovered over $23 million in stagnant inventory sitting in North American warehouses. The product failure is staggering, with 44,000 jars of Windsor orange marmalade gathering dust. A promotional blitz for Meghan's birthday in January 2026 resulted in a mere 26 sales over 24 hours. Regulators and pundits are calling it a strategic collapse of credibility, a sentiment that resonates in both Washington and London. The Royal Trust is currently drafting a formal petition to the Privy Council to review the usage of the titles. Attorneys are preparing a civil lawsuit against Evermark citing trademark infringement and reputational harm. The IRS is working alongside the Department of Justice to see if the Archewell situation warrants charges for wire fraud or charity fraud. As the controversy grows, Prince William is earning high marks for his proactive and strictly constitutional handling of the affair. His decision to be transparent rather than secretive has set a new precedent for how the monarchy manages modern crises. The February 16th summit and William's earlier declaration on February 11th have effectively built an institutional firewall. This marks a historic moment where the royal family has utilized legal and diplomatic channels to sever ties with a former member facing investigation. The core of this strategy rests on the principle of symbolic neutrality. It is the age-old rule that the crown must never be weaponized for personal profit, politics, or business. Since 2020, the Sussex camp has repeatedly tested that boundary, forcing William to intervene decisively. What started as a gentle drift has hardened into a legal separation. In the wake of William's stand, Meghan's business ventures are crumbling. The as-ever site is offline, and retail partners across the UK, Canada, and the US have scrapped future product launches. A cease-and-desist order from the Royal Trust has hit Evermark's legal team, ordering them to immediately stop using packaging that mimics royal designs. The IRS has slapped Archewell with a formal warning regarding their deceptive language used to solicit donations. Charity watchdogs like Charity Navigator and GuideStar have updated the organization's status to reflect the ongoing federal audit. Most damning of all, the IRS found that 75% of Archewell's 2024 spending went to travel, security, and PR for Meghan rather than charity. The phrase, strategic collapse of credibility, is now the defining label for the scandal in both the British and American press. Meghan isn't just viewed as an ex-royal or a charity figurehead anymore. Now, she is staring down possible civil fines, a crumbling brand, and a total rejection by the establishment. Tax auditors suggest that the messy financial and symbolic ties between her lifestyle ventures, Archewell, and the remaining Sussex titles aren't just bad management, they are a deliberate mashup of royal prestige and personal profit. A leaked email backs this up, written by a former executive assistant at the foundation who is currently working with federal agents, pointing out a strategy of hiding details, cashing in on titles after leaving, and using royal buzzwords to keep donors happy. Basically, they turned royal vocabulary into a sales pitch. William's address left no doubt that feelings do not matter when it comes to the ethical standards of the institution. When a reporter asked if he felt bad about the personal cost to his brother, the prince offered a brief, sharp answer that went viral immediately. "We know exactly what our job is. We are just sad it ended up here." This strategy, call it dignified toughness, is being praised as the new Windsor standard for leadership. Historians and legal experts are on the same page. The crown didn't get angry or stay silent. They just stood tall, handed over the receipts, and let the truth do the heavy lifting. A couple of days after the summit, two things started happening. First, the Privy Council stepped in. Following William's advice, and with the King's complete blessing, an official inquiry into the continued use of the Duke and Duchess titles has begun. Insiders say lawyers are drafting a report to see if exploiting these names for business or charity gives them enough reason to strip or suspend them. Then there is the writing of the Civic Clarity Act. The Royal Trust, working with the palace's legal team, is putting the finishing touches on this new set of rules. The goal is to control how titles are used, stop people from copying royal symbols for sales, and create a system for publicly cutting ties. While this is mostly about the Sussex situation right now, it protects the monarchy down the road, making sure no ex-royal can cash in on history or language without permission. The world reacted fast. European royal families are paying attention, with top aides in Sweden and Denmark quietly applauding Britain's way of handling the risk. Stateside, the IRS put out a statement thanking the royal household for being open, providing records, and coordinating on policy. The Wall Street Journal nailed it with their headline, "The Crown is not for sale. How William quietly built a royal firewall." That symbolic boundary is effectively law now. The family isn't just protecting their name. They are fighting for what public service actually means today. As the probe into the Archewell Foundation digs deeper, the shockwaves are hitting charities, politics, and royal networks alike. What started as a routine check on sketchy paperwork has sparked a global debate about where personal fame ends and public obligation begins. Prince William's public rejection on February 11th, followed quickly by legal action, has already made a real difference. Insiders at the UK Charity Commission and the International Compliance Desk at the IRS say a joint task force is currently examining the legal setup of Archewell's sponsorship deals and if the group used royal status to trick donors into trusting them. At the heart of this growing legal case is Archewell's low-key switch to a fiscal sponsorship setup in June 2025. It is not illegal on its own, allowing a small nonprofit to use a bigger group's tax status, but it is meant for brand new projects, not world-famous brands tied to royalty. Tax records marked this change as having very suspicious timing. They flipped the switch just weeks after the press started asking why their finances were so secret and why grant money was drying up. This move basically let the organization get out of filing detailed tax forms, making it much harder for the public to see where the money went. A specific sentence from the tax audit summary really jumps out. This reorganization seems planned specifically to dodge oversight right when questions about money gaps and misleading claims were heating up. At the same time, their own reports show donors are bailing, with revenue dropping from $13 million in 2021 to just over $2.1 million in 2024. Even with that plunge, spending on administrative costs skyrocketed, while less than 25% of the budget actually went to charity work. Back at the palace, top aides are moving fast. New communication rules now require a disclaimer for any outside projects done by family members who aren't working royals. They are also building a database to track unauthorized use of royal terms, flagging anyone selling goods or posting content using words like the Crown, Royal Standard, or Windsor Legacy. The Privy Council has received advice from the Trust's lawyers, arguing that keeping the Sussex titles attached to misleading charity work could be a violation of public trust. As one insider put it isn't just about using the name wrong. It is the constant, calculated use of royal language to boost private business that destroys faith in what service really means. This highlights the main worry. If they don't strictly separate public duty from getting rich, the monarchy's entire foundation could start to crumble. For Meghan Markle, the financial risks are shooting up fast. Warehouse leaks show more than $23 million worth of unsold stock for her lifestyle business. On top of the wholesale deals falling apart, Meghan is now staring down potential sanctions under Title 26 of the U.S. Code regarding tax evasion and falsifying records. She's also looking at Title 18 charges for wire fraud and lying, plus violations of the California Nonprofit Integrity Act if the case goes to court. Punishments might involve seizing donated money that was misused and stripping Archewell of its tax-exempt standing. Internal emails could get released during the legal discovery phase, and big retailers plus charity lists are likely to blacklist the brand completely. The California Attorney General has also dusted off a dormant compliance case from 2023, citing fresh proof of false statements in state paperwork. Come February 20th, the royal household is set to submit a formal request to the Privy Council to reevaluate the Sussex titles. Legal analysts verify the Crown has the constitutional right to pause or cancel a peerage or dukedom if holding that rank endangers the monarchy's reputation or legal standing. It is a touchy situation, but sources say Charles has already looked over the removal paperwork and backs the move if statutory abuse is verified. This result might spark a historic precedent for modern royals, officially removing titles from a post-abdication family member for violating neutrality and financial ethics. As Prince William stressed in his speech, the Crown has to stay out of business. Public service can never get mixed up with making a personal profit. His statement now acts as the clear boundary separating the Crown from chaos. The protective wall isn't just standing there, it is getting stress-tested and reinforced. As February winds down, Prince William's major intervention stands as a massive constitutional turning point, one that forever changes how the monarchy interacts with media and monetization. That barrier isn't theoretical anymore, it is a set precedent, and the fallout is still rippling across legal, symbolic, and institutional lines. Just days after the Clarence House meeting and William's speech, the Privy Council formed a subgroup to evaluate the laws behind removing the Duke and Duchess's titles. The main accusation focuses on the constant public abuse of noble ranks to boost private wealth and mislead fundraising efforts. Council has pointed out similarities to the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917. While first used during war, it is being adapted as a blueprint for defending constitutional honor during peacetime controversies. Even if they don't use that specific law, the core idea that titles depend on national service is guiding these talks. A top aide to William explained, "The palace's shifting stance isn't about politics, but protection, safeguarding the establishment against ruined reputations, legal gray areas, and the exploitation of heritage." King Charles is keeping his distance publicly, but it is understood he doesn't oppose the removal if the misconduct is solid. We expect a final verdict by March 2026. In the meantime, the Archewell Foundation's future looks pretty grim. IRS agents verify the charity is at risk of permanently forfeiting its 501c3 status. Any money reported incorrectly, especially funds used for personal guards, trips, or PR, could get hit with 75% civil fraud fines. Critical internal files that used to be hidden by fiscal sponsorship laws might get subpoenaed if fraud charges move forward. Watchdogs like Charity Watch and ProPublica are gearing up for combined probes into the Friend management breakdowns at Archewell, calling it a prime example of celebrity charity work gone wrong. On top of that, Meghan Markle's brand is basically facing commercial bankruptcy. Stores have ripped up their contracts. Writing off unsold stock is projected to cause massive financial hits. Forensic accountants looking at the books say the company isn't viable anymore. This whole ordeal has been a trial by fire for Prince William. As the heir, his moves haven't just strengthened the monarchy's ethics, they have defined what being royal isn't. The palace's updated declaration on institutional boundaries, signed by William and the Lord Chamberlain, now directs all royal-linked charities and post-royal business. Its three main tenets are being sent out to Commonwealth nations, embassies, and media licensing agencies. No titles without service, no symbols without approval, and no affiliation without truth. In a private comment leaked to the Times, William reportedly stated, "The world needs to see that a boundary exists. Not all names have weight, but ours has to hold the truth. That distinct clarity is the monarchy's armor now." At the end of the day, this wasn't just about tax forms or titles. It was about defining public duty and whether you can sell your heritage without facing repercussions. By stepping up with evidence, discipline, and grace, Prince William has reset the monarchy's moral compass. He proved the crown won't be used for leverage, and that royalty without values is just a costume. For Meghan Markle, the fallout might drag on in court and boardrooms. However, for the royal family, this emergency has built something much more lasting. A legal standard, a shield for their reputation, and a leadership example. The House of Windsor has officially drawn a line in the sand. And for the global audience, one clear message rings out from Marlborough House to D. The crown isn't up for auction, and nobody, not even a duchess, is above the job.